There's a quote by Rita Bailey that says, "Start wherever you are and start small." So if you're listening today and you are feeling entirely unmotivated and have zero energy to do whatever it is that's on your list, whatever it is you normally do, something you might be procrastinating, a project, work, you name it, then this chat is for you. I can't tell if my glasses are working with me or against me right now. They're likely reflecting some of my filming light, but I'm in a get shit done mood, which means I'm gonna wear my glasses to make me feel like I'm in the right attire to get shit done mood. Hey guys, what's up? And welcome back to another coffee talk. I today want to host just a little bit of your time to basically give you a pep talk that you can bookmark and come to anytime you need it, to watch or listen right before you need to do something that you have zero motivation, zero energy, zero inspiration to do. I was feeling this exact way the last few days, and I journaled each of those days, and I'm using my journal notes to come up with my talk for today of what I pep talked myself with to get myself going on the days where I just had zero energy. And then today it was a follow-up day of, it wasn't as bad as the earlier ones, but I still had to give myself that boost, but the boost works. And I want to go into very simple, easy to follow steps to use that boost to get you started on whatever it is you need to do today. So cheers, whether you're drinking a coffee, water, whatever it is. I mean, it's a good place to start is to make yourself something that makes you feel good, that makes you feel prepared. Before diving into today's episode, I want to tell you guys about Lingoda. It's one of the most flexible and inspiring, motivating ways to learn a new language, and they have tons of languages to choose from. Right now, you can use my new code 20Kalyn, that's 20Kalyn, and that's going to get you a special 20% off discount. So if you'd like to start your flexible, effective language learning today, then head to www.try.lingoda.com/Kalyn_June and then use that code 20Kalyn, and that's going to get you 20% off. A huge thank you for tuning in and supporting my journey to becoming more bilingual. And the first thing I want to say before we dive in is that it is, first and foremost, not only entirely normal, but very common to go through waves of feeling unmotivated. So the first thing I want to do is release any kind of weird energy you feel around not being in the headspace or being in the energetic space that you probably want to be in today. That I find is one of my biggest blocks when I get into these moods, when I'm feeling this way, because I love planning. In fact, a lot of us do. Planning gives us such a dopamine hit. When we plan to do things, when we make ourselves some sort of game plan to follow, some sort of to-do list, it gives us that little dopamine hit of feeling like we've done something, feeling like we've accomplished or made some kind of progress. And we have, because I really do think that when you take an idea or you take something you have to do that's just kind of resting in your mind and you put it down on paper, you create some sort of plan with it, it gives you something to follow through and execute. But that little dopamine spike can feel really motivating. It can feel really exciting. However, if you're not jumping into it right away, or if it's something that's a bit more day to day, like a routine to follow, or something that you do to get yourself started for work or on a project, or a huge goal that you've been maybe either procrastinating or just feels really overwhelming, that dopamine rush from the to-do list or the plan will eventually fizzle and fade, and you'll wake up one day and you'll just be like, I don't want to do this. The last few days that I've been feeling this way, the first thing I decided to do was to take 5 minutes to give myself, whether it was journaling time or just anchoring time, I guess would be a better way to put it. All that consists of is just writing or visualizing why and what I need to do. So a good place to start. What would be the most ideal way for you to do the thing that you are avoiding doing? Let's say you have a bunch of really tedious, like mundane administrative work to do. This is one of those things that I tend to procrastinate most because it just isn't fun. And I'll catch myself when I do go to do these things, doing them half-ass. So I'll put something on in the background that will end up kind of half distracting me. So it's taking me double the time to do the thing that I want to do because I'm avoiding at all costs. I am resisting doing that work because it doesn't seem fun, inviting, motivating at all. If you can catch yourself before you put yourself into that space, you can really anchor into this idea of what would be the most ideal way for me to do the thing I need to do. So when I sit and I ask myself that, or if I journal on this before beginning my task, it's as simple as, okay, in my idealistic romanticized version of doing this, if I was in a movie and this was my little B-roll moment, I would throw my hair up. I would make myself a coffee. I would put on some motivating or some easy to focus music. I would set myself up a nice space that has everything I need, my water, maybe a little snack, my laptop, comfortable clothes, or, set up my office desk in a way that it's clean, it looks organized, it feels nice. I would sit down, I would start a timer, I would bump to the music a little bit, and then I would dive in and I would work until that timer ended, knowing that when that timer ends, I would give myself a break before repeating or rinse and repeating again and again until that task is done. You don't have to do whatever it is that you don't feel like doing in the manner that I just explained to you, but that was how I motivated myself to do the things that I was procrastinating these last few days. And I did exactly that. So I turned off the podcasts. I turned off the background YouTube videos. I went through my hair up, put on a little bit of makeup, put on some comfortable clothes, made the coffee, grabbed the snack, set up a nice comfortable place to sit down, started a timer, and just got to it. And the timer is a huge thing too. And I've talked about this multiple times, so I won't dive too heavily into it, but it's just this idea I find for my brain, it really helps. Then I have a timer because if anything pops up that seems enticing or distracting, or it gets my brain around the idea that I don't have to complete all of this in one sitting. I just need to focus on it for an hour, and then I'm going to give myself 5, 10, 15 minutes up to an hour to do something else before returning back to it, and just doing that as many times as I have to until this thing gets done. For the most part, when it comes to beginning something, when it comes to starting on the things that we are avoiding or just don't feel like doing, that is the hardest part, because once you do get into the flow, I'm telling you, you will be fine. Once the flow begins, it's going to feel good to start doing the thing that's been weighing on you, or doing the thing that's been kind of nagging at you, or that you know that you have to do, that you'll just go with it. You'll start to be like, oh yeah, this is actually really easy, or this is really enjoyable, or the feeling of having 30%, 40%, 50% of this complete now feels so good that I want to keep going. It's like working out. Nobody wants to work out. The first few reps, the first few minutes of working out are always the hardest. But then once you're really into the workout, it feels good. And you're like, wait, I could keep going. I could probably do this for a lot longer than I thought. The other visualization tool that you could use, or journaling tool that you could use, is to imagine what it's going to feel like on the other side of what it is that you're doing. So this goes for any kind of goal, any kind of project, anything you're working towards, anything that might feel like a mountainous task. This, for me, has lately been getting ahead on content, like extremely ahead on content, so that I can have 8 weeks where I don't have to record any podcasts. I don't have to do any extensive content work when my baby comes. The last few days that I've been extremely tired have been very valid. And odds are the reason why you feel tired and unmotivated are very valid too. I'm not here to say that you are feeling this way because you're lazy. I know I'm not lazy. I know you're not lazy. I know that we want to do these things for certain reasons. It's just that sometimes life can become a little tedious. It can become a little mundane. It can feel not as fun. And when that goes on for a good amount of time, or, you haven't been sleeping well, or you've been spreading yourself a little thin, whatever it is, this is not toxic hustle culture. I'm not telling you to just push yourself through and continue to spread yourself thin. Definitely make sure you're also adequating some time today, like not tomorrow or the next day or whatever. Like if you're feeling that way and you're very unmotivated, make sure you have something on your list today that's going to refill your cup. Even if it's right before you do the thing you want to do, which I'll get to in a second, because you can habit stack doing something enjoyable to doing something that you don't really want to do, like journaling or visualizing. But coming back to my original point, when I imagine being on maternity leave, when I visualize it, when I write about it, especially picturing it, imagine what it's going to feel like to not have these things done. To, okay, I'm going to abandon the plan that I had, abandon the goal that I have, and give myself the rest time now, give myself the out of doing those things now. And then I imagine myself in August, baby's here, and I'm trying to juggle a newborn baby and working. That feeling is like, it feels bad. I know it would feel bad. I know how I would feel at that moment. I would feel like a failure. I would feel upset with myself, probably down on myself for not doing the thing that I set out to do, knowing that I'm doing it for a good reason. So then visualizing the same exact scenario, but knowing that I got the thing done, knowing that I will be able to relax into that newborn stage for at least 40 days and fully be able to know that I prepared, that I worked hard, that I did what I said I was going to do for that version of me. I'm going to feel so good. That whole chapter of my life is going to feel a lot better, and I'm going to enjoy it more. And so even visualizing that, if I'm not just visualizing the most immediate present moment, best way to do the thing I need to do today, then I'll also visualize the future of what it's going to be like when it's all done and realize, wow, that's going to feel so good. And that version of me is what I'm doing today for. So the other thing I've been doing the last few days in particular, the last week in particular, along with the visualization process, which I have been doing in my journal, I find that when I actually write things down and flow with my thoughts, it's a little bit easier for me to anchor the things that I'm feeling. But you can obviously do that full visualization practice in your mind, of course. But the next part, you might need some kind of writing, anywhere to plot this down, and it is to create your to-do list. However, my biggest tip is to break it down into bite-sized tasks as much as you possibly can. The only tricky thing about breaking down things into smaller tasks, into smaller portions, is that then your to-do list can get a little bit overwhelmed. So it has been in my best practice to focus only on the top 3 things. Now, there's 2 ways you can do this. The first would be to take all of the things that you would like to get done, break them down into the smallest or most manageable tasks that you can, and then find a way to block out the ones that you're not currently focused on. Only show 3 things at a time. So whether that means you use Post-it notes on your agenda or on your notebook to cover the other ones, so the only thing you're seeing, the only writing you're seeing is the 3 immediate tasks that you need to focus on, or you only write down the 3 immediate tasks that you're focused on and you don't add the next task until one of those tasks is complete. I get a little overcomplicated with this, where I will write my full to-do list in either my agenda or digitally, and then I'll use the opposite list to only have 3 tasks to focus on. So I put the other one away. That sounded confusing, so let me explain. I use something called Asana to plan all of my content and my creation and everything in between. And I plan out my day on Asana as well. So I will have the more overarching, bigger things to do. This would look like editing a video and uploading a video. However, actually editing and uploading a video has a lot of little tasks in between. So for me to get started, I need to do my base edits. And then on top of the base edits, then I need to move into my detailing edits. Once the detailing edits are done, I need to export, make a thumbnail, upload, fill in the description box, etc., etc. What I'll do is on Asana, it'll say edit and upload vlog, whatever coffee talk, whatever it is. But in my notebook, I will write down, okay, base edits for the vlog, detailing edits for the vlog, thumbnail for vlog. Those are the only 3 things that I'm going to focus on. And once at least one of those things is done, then I can add the next step and the next step. However, also, for the most part, a lot of us tend to manage or juggle multiple things in a day. So in a day, I might not just be editing and uploading a vlog. I might also be filming a different video or vlogging something else or doing some admin work. This is where prioritization comes in key. For those of you that have been up to date on the recent episodes, you might remember that just a few weeks ago, I restarted my French classes with Lingoda, all thanks to their incredible flexibility. And since then, I've not only taken their immersive live classes with up to 5 students, but I've also been able to deepen my language skills with their comprehensive resources. I've been making the most of their resources, especially the flashcards, which are perfect for quick revisions before and after my classes. These resources have been the best way to enhance the way that I learn and retain the French that I'm actually gaining. The lessons are conducted 24/7 live and online by native speakers. They stretch far beyond the basic language learning. Lingoda Flex lets me schedule in a class at a time that best suits me and my busy schedule as a mom. My journey with French has been up and down, but since getting back into Lingoda, it's been way more motivating. And it's also worth noting that Lingoda also offers classes in German, Spanish, English, so many other languages. If you're looking to transform your approach to learning a language, then join me on this journey with Lingoda. You can use my new code 20Kalyn, 20Kalyn, and that is going to get you a special 20% off discount. So start your flexible, effective language learning today by going to try.lingoda.com/Kalyn_June. Take this opportunity to embrace language learning and expanding your mind as part of our everyday lives. Check out the link in the episode notes to get started, and a big thank you for tuning in and supporting my journey to becoming more bilingual. Merci. When you have your overarching or your master list, your master to-do list for the day or for the week, make sure you know what is most important. And there's a way you can do this. There's an actual term for it. Let me look it up because I want to make sure I'm saying it right. So it's called the Eisenhower Matrix. And what it looks like is a T or a cross or a plus sign, which leaves you with 4 squares. In the top left square, the number 1 square, the most important, is what is urgent, meaning it has a quick timeline or a quick deadline on it, and it's very important. In the second box next to it to the right, it is not urgent, but it is still very important. In the left bottom box, you have not important, but urgent. And then in the final box, the right bottom box, you have not urgent, not important. And when you write down anything in the not urgent and not important, you take it off your list for the day. So once you have your master list, break down your master list into knowing what is the most urgent, what needs to be done either today, tomorrow has a quick coming deadline, and it is extremely important. And you'll know if it's important for a couple of reasons. Like, is this something that puts the food on the table, pays your bills? Is this something that, if you know your life value system, like, is it important for you to send the birthday gift to someone you really love? You know, those types of things are both urgent because they have timelines on them, and they are important because they either sustain your lifestyle or help pay your bills or feed your family or help you live by your values. The things that are not urgent are things that are still really important. They're things that still follow or factor into your value system as you live as a human being on the planet, but they don't have immediate timelines. And that also goes for the third box where it might be urgent, but it's not as important. So this can sometimes be the people pleasers pitfall, right? It's urgent. We said yes to it. We've committed. We've done something or said we would do something because we wanted to make someone happy, but it's actually not that important to us. The bottom boxes are going to be the hardest because they're going to challenge you the most to learn how to say no, set firm boundaries, let go of things that aren't important, and get really clear and real with yourself about what it is that is important to you and why we say yes to things. So if you can, for the most part, try and delete everything in the bottom boxes, focus everything on in the first box first, and then move to the right top box where they're still really important, but they don't have immediate deadlines. Other things that would be in that box could be maybe you wanted to take up a hobby and it is really important. Maybe you want to write a book. There's no immediate deadline for you to write this book. There's no urgency. There's no income coming from the book, whatever it is, but it is important to you to write that book because it is important to you to do something you love, and you love writing and you love creating, and it's been calling to you from your intuition. That is something that would go above, saying yes to volunteering at, I don't know, an acquaintance, not even a good friend's work event that you said yes to and it's coming up, but it's actually not important to you. It will be hard to make those types of decisions, but it will be crucial to make those types of decisions in order to break down and free up some of your time and your energy. And if you struggle with knowing if something is important to you, ask yourself, why is this on my list? Why am I doing this? And that will help you figure out whether or not it's actually important to you and really why it is that you have committed to this thing and whether or not it's worth or possible to let it go. Now, the last few things that I'm going to pep talk you with are just little practices that you can take into moving from what you're listening to or watching right now into doing the thing that you need to do today. The first is, as soon as this chat is over, as soon as our pep talk ends, you need to find a good transition from one task to the next. Transitions is where we usually get lost because as one thing ends and we're meant to jump into the next, that is where distraction can come in. So there's a couple ways you can do this. You could use, I think it was Mel Robbins. Back in the day, this was one of my favorite ways to get myself into action mode because my brain definitely does that. It goes into imagining how uncomfortable and just not fun it's going to be to do something. And then my body doesn't want to respond anymore. My body doesn't want to follow through with the action. So it's literally just a countdown. You do 3, 2, 1, go. And you don't let your brain think. It changes the processing in the brain where you move into the prefrontal cortex. If my memory serves me correctly, I can say through practice, it works. The second thing you can do, and this one has become a more recent favorite of mine. I haven't used the Mel Robbins as much recently, but it's using music and dance to move in between tasks. So whether it's doing the tedious cleaning up of my filming gear and moving into editing, I'll throw on a song and I'll kind of lose myself into the flow of like either singing or just kind of moving while I'm working around my office, putting stuff away and getting into the next task. That can also be a good energy booster, a good motivator. And again, it gets you out of your mind, out of just imagining how much you don't want to do the thing that you have to do next. And then the third is that you could also create some kind of accountability with someone that you love, trust, or that wants, the best for you. So whether it's just saying like, hey friend, you don't even need to respond to this, but this is what I need to do right now. And if I don't have this done by the end of the day, I'm going to feel crappy. So I'm telling you that I'm doing it so that I actually now have a reason to do it. I have told someone I'm doing this, and I'm going to tell you at the end of the day whether or not I actually got it done. And my last piece of advice, my last part of this pep talk is to know that you don't have to do it perfectly. Even in the visualization of what is going to be the most enjoyable way for me to do this right now, it doesn't mean that it has to come into fruition as perfectly as you imagined it. It doesn't mean that when you do get started, you have to finish. It doesn't mean that when you do start and move into whatever it is you don't feel like doing, that it has to be done perfectly right away or even at all. So this can go especially if you are in a creative field or if what you're procrastinating or don't feel like doing is something creative. It could also go into if you have a big project on your plate, if you have a goal. It could equate to all of it. It can equate to everything. Is that if you can kind of, in a sense, as much as you feel is possible, if you can let go of the end result, if you can let go, even just imagining in my example of what my mat leave or my makeshift mat leave is going to look like, even if it's not perfect, even if I don't get all 8 weeks ahead, it's still going to feel a lot better to be 6 weeks ahead than to not be prepped or have gotten myself started at all. So the perfectionist is going to be one of the biggest roadblocks for all of us when it comes to procrastinating, doing the things we need to do. And this can go even for non-creative pursuits. Like I said, if there is something that you just don't feel adequate in, if it's not your strong suit, you might avoid doing that thing, or you might avoid jumping into it because you think like, I'm not going to be good at this. And so if you can just get started and let go of the need to be right, to be perfect, to have it all done exactly as you imagine or in any way at all, and you can just try and relax into the process instead. If you are a perfectionist and you struggle with this, then shift your perfectionistic mentality into perfect being focusing for an hour, perfect being the setup you make for yourself that you sit down in and work in, perfect being, the coffee you make for the task that you need to do. It's going to feel so much better to have things on their way than it will to not have started at all, because you're so stopped by the idea that it needs to be all in, that it needs to be all or nothing. And that if you start, you better finish in the same breath, in the same day, in the same note. So I think it was just like a couple talks ago that we talked about ways to make the mundane day-to-day tedious stuff more enjoyable. So definitely jump back to that talk if you need to feel like, okay, it is my routine, it is my day-to-day work that I'm avoiding. We've done a talk about that recently. So definitely jump back to that. The last thing I'm going to leave you with is this, because this is the last little bit before we jump into what we have to do next. You have all of the power within your hands to create your day. You have all of the power within your hands and this circle of control within your life to create your life to an extent. When you envision what it's going to feel like to make some progress today, to follow through with yourself today, to commit to your promises today, to yourself today, and you actually follow through in a way that is graceful, that just shows up, that just focuses on doing the work for that time and doing the very best you can within that time, I promise you, the way you're going to feel at the end of today, the way you're going to feel at the end of that focus session, the way you're going to feel at the end of whatever amount you're able to dedicate to doing what it is that you don't feel like doing today is going to be of your own creation. You are going to create that energy. You are going to create that joy. You're going to create that feeling of motivation, of abundance, of feeling good about yourself. You know that feeling. You've felt it before. There's times in your past where you've shown up, you've done the thing that you didn't feel like doing, and it felt really good afterwards. You can create that feeling. You are the creator of your everyday, of your life. So if you can take that energy, take that motivation, take these tangible steps, remember how important it is as soon as this chat ends, the transition time. So if you're on YouTube, be careful. Like, it's gonna want to trap you into the next video. It's gonna want to keep you on the platform. And if you're listening to a podcast and you're maybe, I don't know, driving to work, or you are on your way to do something, or you are kind of in between tasks, right? There's going to be a lull. There's going to be a little open window where maybe your phone could distract you, or the next video, or the next episode, or the next piece of content, or whatever it is might want to distract you. Even just sitting and scrolling, or sitting and not doing it yet, not jumping right in. So whether you decide to do the 3-2-1 method, whether you decide to move your way directly into the first thing, whether you decide to make the list or do the visualization first, whatever it is, before signing off, before closing out, make sure you know right now in your brain the next step you're taking, the small little step you're going to take as your transition into the thing that you need to do. And keep in mind that you are the one creating the flow of events that are going to happen right after this. And with that, I actually need to do the exact same thing. I fully need to close on out, put away all of my filming gear, and I have a lot of admin work to do today, a lot of editing work to do today. So I'm going to throw on some music. I am going to log off and drink the rest of this coffee and transition slowly into that next thing. If you truly don't know where to start, if you're like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling a little overwhelmed, this is closing out and I don't know what my next task is, I would recommend the visualization and the to-do list. Start there. And if your to-do list is overwhelming, only break it down into the first 3 steps. And if you aren't sure what those 3 steps are, do the prioritization practice where you figure out what's urgent and important, break those steps down, pick only 3 and start there. And as you do that, once you have that written out, once you have that planned, don't get too hooked into the dopamine of just doing the planning. Then make sure that you really utilize that transition into the next task and jump right in. So I hope you guys enjoyed this pep talk. I hope that you found it helpful. Feel free to bookmark it and listen to this anytime you need to get yourself to feel motivated to do whatever it is you've got to do. And without further ado, I will chat with all of you guys in the next one. Bye, everyone.